Welcome and hello. My name is Stefan Kovach. I'm the educator emeritus at Healthmark, a Getinge company. And over this next half hour, we're going to talk about the history of medical device reprocessing and our future and where we are going. This is my disclaimer. It's part of my job. I enjoy doing it. And what's important on this slide is to remember that I'm going to take snippets out of IFUs or articles or standards to make some points, to stress some things. It is still up to you to go and read those in detail and get the full information. Part of what we do at Healthmark is we try to educate our customers so they can do a better job in what they do every day, and that's delivering the best patient care they can. Clean and functional instruments so they can be sterilized and high level disinfected so the patient outcome can be the best it can be. And it's not just about buying a product or doing something like that. It's about educating for us also to listen to our customers to see what we can do to help them in what they do every day in making patient outcomes better. So the program is going to be a half hour. It's going to be followed by 15 questions. So make sure when you're done, you click on the appropriate link and go from there. There's basically only two objectives. We're going to review the concepts of medical device reprocessing and where we are today, where we've come from, and then how is that going to help us to form our future. And remember, you are the future. You will help form it. You must become involved in where you work and in the standards and guidelines in your local, state, and even national groups if you want to make a difference and move your profession forward. So I think we have to look at ourselves differently. As you know, we all love going to the spa, and the spa is where we rejuvenate, we feel better. And the spa is ever changing. If you went 10, 20 years ago, you might not have used rock therapy or aromatherapy or whatever, but they're always finding ways to rejuvenate. Well, we work in the spa, the sterile processing area. If that's the title you use in the United States, we'll discuss titles later on as things have evolved. But that's where we rejuvenate instruments. We work to make them clean and functional, because if they are clean and functional, they can be high level disinfected and sterilized. So that is very important. So without the spa, our customers, especially the surgical team, they cannot do what they do. Amy ST79 uses the term sterile processing area, the spa. I know if you use ISO or other things, you might use other titles, and we'll get to that in the next few slides. So again, we are the heart of the hospital, no matter where you work, and we rejuvenate those instruments just like you rejuvenate yourself when you go to a spa. So that's where you work. When people, I work in the spa in the hospital. So objective one, review the beginning concept of medical device reprocessing departments and where we're at today. And I'm going to look a little at medicine and SPD and how they go hand in hand and how that has evolved as one evolved, the other evolved. And we're going to look at instrumentation, sterilization, data collection and quality, and how all these advancements have gone hand in hand and moving to where we're going to go in the future. And as you can see from that picture there, that's an old sterilizer, and somebody is putting some reusable linen packed in there, and you can see they have water in there, probably distilled water. We've come a long way, so we'll get into that. I want you to think around 1910. I picked this because I thought it had some really good information that pertains to us. So did you know that women usually wash their hair about once a month and use borax or egg yolk for shampoo? The average lifespan for me as a man was 47 years. It's a little longer now. 90% of all doctors had no college education. Interesting. Instead, they attended so-called medical schools, many of which were condemned in the press and the government as substandard. Interesting. Look at our profession. Many of us didn't go to any schools or any certification, and now that's becoming required. Marijuana, heroin, and morphine were available over the counter at the local drugstore. In 1910, this is what pharmacists were saying. Heroin clears the complexion, gives buoyancy to the mind, regulates the stomach and bowel, and in fact, it's a perfect guardian of health. And in 1910, 30% of the cars were electric. Interesting. Our past and present moves us into the future. No two CPD, sterile processing areas, MDRD, medical device reprocessing. If you're listening from Canada, that's what they're called in Canada. SPD, sterile processing department. SPA, SPA, CSSD, if you're in Europe, basically, or in other parts of the world outside of North America and maybe Mexico and so on. But CSSD is a common term around the world, or whatever we call ourselves, we are the same, just a little different in some areas. I know in some places they are a full service, traditional, where they do infusion pumps, GOMCOs, set up traction even, besides doing sterilization and assembly of instruments. No matter how hard we try, things will keep changing and evolving, and we must adapt. From gravity sterilization to various low temperature, from just using eyes to inspect to now flexible inspection scopes and borescopes for inspections. We are always changing. Let's talk about that in a few minutes here. This is a layout from 1966. What I find, they were using boiling water sterilization. They had cooling tables, assembly tables, preparation tables. Interesting. They're using Arkansas stones to basically sharpen the scissors and the needles. Now what do? We've evolved to mobile trucks, and now some places even have the instrument repair person on site. Why? Because it's needed. Turnaround, more surgeries, more complexity. Instruments can't be kept out for too long for repair. They cost too much in inventory, cost controls. That evolution has happened. Yep, this is how it was. They used to have a little sterile cart that goes around. They had assembly, a lot of basins. Now they're all disposable, get into single use and so on. Had linen rooms. Some people are going back to inspecting disposable wrap. Don't understand that, but we'll leave that for another time. Used to test gloves in the assembly area. Everybody just sort of worked at a big table and worked from there. I worked during those times in the 70s, some of those. Sterilization has come a long way, as you can see. And in that middle picture there, that's interesting. Look how they're working around, and look at that sterilizer. We've gone from boiling sterilization to gravity to pre-vacuum to even Larry Joslin, for those of you who remember him from the 80s and 90s, and his technology changed to low temperature. ETO at one time was what we all use. It's still still an excellent form of sterilization, but we've gone to many forms of low temperature because of the instrumentation and the morphing of that instrumentation, which we'll get into. And our workstations used to be very simple, and now look at how complex they are. And this is something many of you don't know about or have heard, but many a times before sterile processing departments came about, the OR had their own room to assemble and check their instruments, wrap them, and just send them to be sterilized. Or they sent them up to be wrapped and then sterilized and sent back to the OR. But look now what we have, from something simple to complex. And why is that? It's into the instrumentation. We'll talk about that. And here we are, instruments. Think back to the 40s and 50s. General dissection, basically stainless steel, long life instruments, primarily made of heat stable stainless steel, and many homemade instruments. I know where I came from, we had machine shop where the surgeons actually went down and guys made the instruments they needed, changed the clamps or whatever, and it was done. It's usually not how it's done today. You now have different methods like ASTM that are used to test devices and put the metals through and make sure they can go through sterilization and meet certain specifications. So that has really changed. We've again gone from basic steam sterilization and from gravity to pre-vacuum to where we are today. That has been based upon a lot of the instrumentation and what they're made out of. It's pretty much considered 1959 was the first flexible endoscope. From 60 to 70, metal's increasing complexity, the designs change. You saw the changes in knees and hip surgeries. New sterilization was needed. Space age material brought about more heat sensitive items. ETO became the sterilization of choice. And now look where we're at. Low temperature is being done in some 30, 40 under an hour. ETO is still very good. It's used in many other areas. And then the take apart started coming in the 70s. And we're going to address the single use issue very quickly. So again, from the 1980s and beyond, we really have not stopped in the design of our instruments, smaller fiber optics, the smaller single site, not opening up for surgery, everything going through little holes. We're not just doing GOM codes anymore. It's infusion pumps that are very complex that must be cleaned properly for the sensors and so on. So again, as instruments design has changed, so is what we've had to do. So why have some of these changes been brought about? Well, surgical technique. That's it. As they find better ways to do things, they need different instrumentation to hold, to clamp, to grasp, whatever. We've gone from open surgery to more closed type surgery. GYN and general surgery doing more laparoscopic surgery, orthopedics doing it with arthroscopy and so on. And think of how the tears in that are being fixed and repairs, and even with the sports medicine, how there really wasn't a sports medicine and how that developed and how such a specialty that is. And then with all the orthopedic instruments with cardiac surgery, now some of that surgery is being done in a cath lab. Non-invasive, and it's just amazing. So now you have to clean these items. They're more delicate, they're smaller. And again, the evolution. And all the specialties have advanced in some way. And with those advancements in techniques come different instruments that require different cleaning and so on. And low temperature pretty much started to change in around 1994 is when ETO was really challenged by one of the other companies, and it's still around today. And then they've been challenged by other companies and how we sterilize and what we do. The robotics pretty much came around in around 1997. There was Zeus and these other ones and how they've progressed to where we are today. The design challenges, as I said, they're long, narrow lumens. They're not just simple anymore, multiple parts, tiny serrations. Reprocessing has not been always a top priority in design of instruments, but that is changing because you, the sterile processing, the medical device professional, have become more active, and that is important. Instructions were vague at the beginning, and now they're becoming more detailed because they have to be. Costs are more costly. You might not have as many. They got to be repaired quickly. We talked about that. There's sometimes fewer sets. They increase use, thus increase repair. Everything's quick, 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 quick. Now you have 20-minute wash cycles. Are they really 20 minutes? What's going on? Do you need 30 minutes, 40 minutes? Time, turnaround. The washers are washing lumens different now. You're not just not laying them flat. You have to hook them up. And I believe there still is a lack of respect for the care and handling process. And we have to always fundamentally get back to basics and understand basics. And I'm going to make that point a little stronger later on. We can talk about the categories of instruments, but I like to keep it simple. That KISS, keep it simple for Steve. So simple is devices without challenges. They're bone spikes, osteotomes, simple tweezers, pickups, things of that nature. And then there's just those complex instruments. Yeah, you can bring them down to endoscopes and orthopedics, but it's devices with challenging design features. And that's what we're facing. More and more of our instruments have challenging design features. And that's where we come in, where we have to get the new tools and use them properly. And those tools help us make sure items are clean and functional. So again, what is happening? There's more lumen items. The reamers have become different. The suction, the MIS, the flexible endoscopes, power equipment, take aparts, the robotic arms. Oh my gosh, they're being reusable. Some are going to single use now. There's all this talk about that. We have to know how to handle that. The bulb and bladder. How many of you actually let that dry for 24 hours when you read the IFU? How many of you are reading the IFU? The sources for the technical manuals that are out there that are very, very important. FDA has been having more and more summits listening to us, the customer. We are the customer of the surgeons. We are the customer of the device manufacturers. What are our challenges? Again, it's design, the narrow lumens, the dead ends. Oh my gosh, multiple parts, incomplete information from the manufacturer on how to clean. Some of that is still there and it needs to be resolved, but that is how we're evolving as we become more active in our profession and in these standards and guidelines. That is what's going to help us change. The headlines, we have to stay out of the headlines. That is very, very important. That drives a lot of the changes, and we're going to get into that with a couple of the examples I have. This year, 16% of the loaners that came in were tested for blood. When placing the tissue protector on the drill, old dry blood and tissue came out. Particles of tissue were found in cannulated instruments. So I have a picture here of a set of instruments, not necessarily the ones that this came from, but just to make a point. The investigative report said a surgical tool used for inserting a screw in a broken bone was not properly prepared before being sent to be sterilized, containing biomatter from a previous patient that should have been removed, the report said. Look at all those little lumens and devices to fix somebody who's had some broken bones. That was not there in the 40s and 50s. It evolved to where it is, and it's still evolving as they find better techniques. And those techniques require new instrumentation, new sterilization, new cleaning parameters. Yes, instruments have come a long way. Look at this down here in the bottom right, some old instruments from ancient Greece and Rome, and look at our take aparts. Look at the inside of a scope. I want to thank my friend John Fish from ESR Repair for this picture. Look at that. And oh my God, those cheese graters, how come the OR is not pre-cleaning those? That's a whole, we're evolving in that. And with pre-clean treatment and putting things in humidity bags and so many things in this bulb and bladder, they're now going disposable rather than hanging them for 24 hours. And the equipment is changing. It's all amazing. So remember, no two CPDs, SPDs, SPAs, CSSDs, MDRDs are alike. Sometimes you must make do with what you have. How we clean them has changed over time, the complexity. Our washers and sonics have changed. They didn't used to do lumen devices. Now they do lumen devices. Now they do robotic devices. The cycles are getting longer and shorter, and there's reasons for both. Department layouts have changed. We're not having boiling sterilization stations anymore. The human factors now play a part in design of the departments. And you can look, purchasing used to just buy a 3-weld sink. Now that human factors is coming in, they raise, they lower, they're bigger, they're deeper, they got lights, and That's the way it's supposed to be. It's evolving as we listen to each other. Vendors listen to us, the users, what we need, how we can be safer, how we can evolve and go from there and make it better. If it's better for us, it's better for the patient, it's a better outcome. Advancements in sterilization, cleaning, and instruments designs go hand in hand. The rise of the robots, and it's still rising. Oh my gosh. And you can just see the different modalities here of sterilization for low temperature. And there's more coming out. And again, they go hand in hand. New instruments made with different material might not be able to be steam sterilized, have to be steamed or high level disinfected in another way, so you got to find a way to do it. So here are some of the factors that have caused these changes. We can search on the internet and put changes and come up with what causes change. And I've just put a few things here. It's the headlines. You want to stay out of the headlines, please. Those headlines, people won't come to your facilities. They won't do different things. Bad practice. So new medical procedures, we've talked about it, are causing our change. The technology causes change. And sometimes that technology is not necessarily starting in the medical area. It comes from somewhere else and migrates over. Regulatory compliance. Before it used to be, show me your biologicals, you're fun and done and one and done and gone. Now, what's the standards? What are you doing? Are you using brushes? Don't use brushes on the clean side. So many different things, but it's to make it better. And now we're being audited more. Patient wellness, the outcome. Again, staying out of the headlines. Think of what happened with endoscopes, and unfortunately, but it caused changes in the design of the endoscope that changes us, how we clean it, what we do, and so on. There's a lot of other things. So I want to take these last 7 or 8 minutes and go through 3 areas on where we're going in the future. Borescopes, AI, installation testing, and what can we do about it. Remember, can you believe it? It's 15 years ago where we started to use and come up with flexible inspection scopes and borescopes. And I want to thank Jahan Azizi. He is, I call the father of the borescope. His research and what he has helped to do to get where we are today has been great. I also wrote a paper with Hank, my friend Hank, and Marianne Drosnak that again showed the importance of using enhanced visual inspection and how it can pick up issues before that. I want you to see that there. That was a clean shaver, and they didn't have a borescope.
You gotta know.
Now,
you gotta know. A lot of people
finding the problem is part of the problem, but you've got to understand they didn't have the right brushes. They didn't know how to clean it properly. Just finding that it's dirty, you have to go back and look at your process, and that comes from auditing can help you. Are you got the right brushes? Are you soaking it the right amount of time? What are you doing? I've done some spot checks. I went in 3 different places. 3 out of the 3 shavers were dirty, 1 out of 2, 4 out of 7. None of them had a borescope or a flexible inspection scope, and none of them had all the right brushes. So you're going to have these issues if you don't have the right tools. And those tools change. You get different brushes based on the design of the instrument you're trying to clean. So that evolution all takes place because of a change in surgery, a change in technique, and it affects us. This is something that, this is from 2017. This was an FDA safety warning. And this, again, stresses why you need a borescope or flexible inspection scope. Examples of damages may include loose parts, damaged channels, walls, nicks, or bends in tubings. How do you look inside if you don't have something? This was a warning. 2017. That alone should make you to want to inspect the inside of scopes just for those things. So this is an example of brand new channels, brand new scope coming in. That's what it looks like. And why is this important? As you start to learn what AI does, AI is going to be able to help you as it comes, as you get to learn and adapt it. And that is evolving. This is what a good channel looks like. So now it knows what it is. If it's something different, it'll highlight. I'm going to show you that in a second. These here were all different scopes with channels that were not smooth inside that had to go out for repair. And if you look at this interesting, I'm showing a brush actually coming through a channel, and you can see the brush, if you're not twisting and turning, it's not going to get the channel, but you can see part of that inside channel is flaking, is not round. That scope needs to be pulled out for service. And the only way you would have seen that, even without AI, is with a flexible inspection scope or a borescope, whatever you call it. Look at all these pictures. These have to go in for repair. And now here's an example of AI being used. Watch it. And the little dots are picking up things that are wrong there, and then it gives you a report. It tells you where it's at, and you could go back and check it. And then when this scope comes back, you can make sure they've put in or corrected everything. That's the other great thing about this. Only got a few more minutes left here in this half hour, and we're going to start to begin to wrap it up. But the evolution of the MIS instruments was very, very important. You've got to understand that they came with no ported instruments. Then they were take aparts. The design has changed. That's how you clean them. How you test them has changed. I want you to look at this top picture there. That's at arm's length. You can't see it. That's under a regular 2x magnification. Look at that. You wouldn't see it there, but you'd see it there. Okay? Magnification. That's from a non-ported when they pulled the insulation out. Look at how all non-ported should be taken out. I'm sorry. And again, it's the zone of where this is what the surgeon's looking at. They can't see all this. And so I want you to understand the rise of single uses have changed back in 93. This is 31 years ago. They were already going to single-use laparoscopic instruments, and the reason they had publications showing how the instruments were so dirty and people weren't cleaning them. So the rise of single-use instruments is changing what we do. Now I want you to watch this. This here is a surgeon's view, and that's all they're seeing. And now I want you to watch on the bottom right-hand side, look for a yellow circle. This is why you insulate test every instrument. You watch for that little burn there, and you're going to see it. That would not have been in the surgeon's field. This video was taken with extra lenses to show what was going on, and it just happened to catch it. Look at that. Look at that. The surgeon would have never known it. That's why you test. So this is the last couple minutes is very important here. We want to tie in all this into what I believe is going to, besides the technology changes, there's something else we need to do to help get us into the future and do a better job. This is exactly 30 years ago where I used to work. Most people ought to be getting the message that there's going to be a requirement that performance be measured and outcomes be measured, and we might as well face up to it. Think 30 years ago, those of you who've been here, think even 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you were not collecting as much data. Sure, it was manually. Now you have workstations that collect it. But if you collect good data and know what that data is used for, you can make improvements. That's why data collection and quality is ongoing, and they work together. Quality is a dynamic process. You have new staff, new products, new procedures, new guidelines, new knowledge always coming, best in class. You want to be best, and everybody wants to be in the top 100 hospitals or the top in the city. Certification has to be required. It's a must now. Um, you need data and to prove you need good data, real data, junk in, junk out. You got to know what you're collecting and why. That's why you put in quality improvement programs. And there are other factors that are going to drive the quality. When you get in the bad headlines, they're going to try to figure it out. You must network with people, get out of your own system, talk to other technicians, go to local meetings. It's important. Understand and apply scientific knowledge, use evidence-based, clinically relevant products. Don't just listen to all the marketing stuff that's out there. Go to meetings, take responsibility for what you do, audit your process, upgrade your knowledge, get certified. All these are very important. So objective 2, this is it, the last 2 minutes here. We're always trying to find ways to be faster and to do things, but make sure you understand why, and faster does not always mean better. Change is always going to take place. In our world, the factors of the past and the present are starting to form our future. It's starting. And the best thing I can tell you is I talked to a CEO of a hospital recently that had one of those cyber attacks. Said 70% of his nurses did not know how to manually chart. This is coming to us. You're now seeing these robots that wrap and even AI. You still have to know how to wrap, because if that machine stops, if you don't know how to wrap and you don't know the fundamentals and you don't have the knowledge, and that's where certification and training comes in. Science is going to advance, but you still have to know the basics. And AI is good, but you're still going to have to know if that breaks down and what are you going to do. There's always going to be new products and new ways. That's never going to stop. So you have to be flexible. And that's why focus, PDCA, Six Sigma, whatever you do, IQ, OQ, PQ. There was a lumen study that was just done by Kevin Anderson that showed that sonics are failing and they're not cleaning the lumens properly. You've got to test those and do things. John's study on the borescope, the introducing of single-use devices and how that's changing what we do. These 3 quotes, I'm going to end this up with the quotes here. Always do what is right when people are looking. Yeah. From Detroit, I like what Henry Ford said, quality is doing the work right when nobody is looking. Peter Ducker, what gets measured gets improved, but make sure you understand what you're measuring and what the data is. Don't just measure everything. It must also be understood that implication of any quality improvement or risk-based program does not always prevent incidents from happening, but it helps reduce and understand them better if they occur. That's a quote from me. You control our profession. Products and technology may kill bugs, but people prevent health care associated infections. Remember, clean and functional. Close with this last slide. This is the best I could find in writing from 400 BC. And it said, prepare, be well treated afterwards so they may not impede the work. It's about cleaning the instruments and having them ready for surgery. So we go back way before that, but there's something in writing. So again, remember, you are the heart of the hospital. Thank you for attending today. Remember to take a quiz, be active, be involved, and you make a difference every day. Thank you for attending. Remember to keep it clean and functional. This is Stefan Kovac from Healthmark. Take care. Bye now.